Hey, I'm going to have a bit of a look at a Gerber multi-tool today. This is the Gerber MP600. It's the black military style MP600. This is a mid to large size multi-plier, as Gerber calls them. It's a typical Gerber flicking open mechanism plier, all the tools being on the inside. You'll still pay about $100 in Australia for one of these, once all said and done. In America, I think they're down to about probably $60 or something similar to that. Just go through the tools and a bit of commentary on each one. I've used this at work for about 6 months now on a pretty steady basis. Starting to show some wear. I'll just look at the outside first. You've got a ruler there. What I've done here, it was really hard to see the numbers, so I got a oil pastel, a white one, and I coloured in, sort of rubbed over and over all the indentations. So as you see, it's sort of, on the A there of the USA, it's still kind of like filled in there. But everywhere else, I think it makes it look quite sharp. So there's that. So just the ruler, 3 inches on one side, and 8 centimeters on the other. I guess it's handy for if you need to. When I use this is when I've got a certain type of size of screw, or more particularly poly piping for sprinklers. I'll quickly hold this up against before I go, just to get last check, and see how many. So it's 19 mils. See if it's like if I need 19 mils, or if I need 25 mils. Just that sort of stuff. Really cool. So that's that. What else? There's not much else on the outside actually. You can just see the locks there. They're plastic. Little lock symbol on them there. And you got the button slides as well. You don't need to press them. You press them to unlock, not to launch. So you can just hold it like loosely at the end and just flick. There is a certain knack to it which you get pretty soon after you get the tool. Tool does take about a day or so to loosen up. So the pliers, what I've just launched out, they're a pretty standard pair of needle nose pliers with the non-replaceable wire cutters. They meet quite well. Very precise tip. You can see there. And we've got some good knurling in there. Nice long needle nose section. But then there's good knurling as well. I'll open up a Leatherman rebar. Oh. See, there's needle nose tips working well there. So just a little bit more knurling than you get in a rebar. The rebar, sort of those big chunky cutters, kind of start to dig into the bolt turning capacity of the tool. So I like the pliers on these. The pliers are probably the strongest point. Good set of pliers. I do prefer when pliers are replaceable, but I've used this rebar for ages and haven't had to replace these yet. So whether or not it's just one of those things for the sake of being there, I think time's starting to tell if that's really a worthy addition, because it's been a few years since you've had those, and I think the tools without are doing just as well with the tools with it. So there's that. So pliers is probably my favourite tool. The rest of the tools you have to go into the handles to open up. Let's do that now. First tool is a file. File is of reasonable quality. Let's get that in nice and close. You see there it's got a crosshatch section on one side. It's like a good rasp for for filing down like sharp raggedy bits of plastic onto cheaper tools, things like cheaper toys, things like that. On the other side is more of your wood file for smoothing out wood and making notches, things like that. There is no hacksaw type blade on the side of this file. It's just smooth on each side. The end does double as a flathead of some sort. Do not use this file to pry. You see these get broken all the time. The steel is just too hard. There's not enough flex in it. It's hard because it's a proper file. So you don't want to use your file to pry, because hard steel will not flex at all. It will just snap. Just a lock there. Release that, push that back, and then fold the tool in. Next tool along is a small flathead screwdriver. I use that a fair bit. I've used that to pry because it is fairly thick, and I've got that wedged under some window sills, things like that, things I've needed to get into, and it's done very well by me. Good size for most flat screws. Next tool along, Mr. Tool. You see here, you sort of just have to pull them all out by the nails. They're all in separate washers, which is good, but I sort of prefer the clumping on these inside when the tools are inside the handles. You just want to pull them all out. It's inelegant as it is, so you might as well just pull them all out, So you got a small flathead there, which is good for lots of sort of battery compartments on toys, things like that. Very common use for these multi-tools. Next tool. Next tool is your bottle opener with yet another flathead screwdriver. A bottle opener is a good tool to have, although I usually have one more readily available. Bottle opener really is one of those tools that you don't really feel like fidgeting and opening up a whole multi-tool to get. You just kind of want to have it ready to go on like a one-piece multi-tool, or so the outside of a Gerber dime or something similar. I feel the same way about the one inside the Leatherman rebar. The next tool is the plain blade, which I'm not a fan of. I think I've spoken about this plain blade before. It is too flat, there is no belly on it at all, and generally you're going to be using these things. I mean, you use it for opening boxes a little bit, but then again I probably use the serrated edge for opening the box. So this knife really doesn't have much in the way of purpose for me. I just feel like it's a little bit of a wasted opportunity. That Wharncliffe shape, that tip just bears the full brunt of any slice that you make. 420 HC steel on the blade. More or less unused because it's just not practical to me. I've always got a better blade on me than that one. Can opener, a superfluous tool in this day and age, I feel. Especially for a tool that's not particularly bushcraft or camping themed. So this is absent of a saw or an awl or anything like that. So I figure why even worry about the token can opener inclusion, or do like Leatherman, make a tool that does both. Let's find that for you now. So that will open cans and bottles. So Gerber should do that, I think. That's one there. A good Phillips head, not a great Phillips head. It is a bit short. Keeping in mind, this Leatherman rebar is my comparison tool. It is cheaper to buy the Leatherman rebar than to buy the Gerber. Longer Phillips of the same size, and just a bit more elegant design there, I believe. Fold that in, fold it back. Next tool is a lanyard hole, which isn't a tool, and I would much rather they put something better on there, like a saw or something else. I don't use this lanyard hole. I could use it to hang it up on sort of a tool board or something like that, which is what I did have my blunt nose MP600 hanging up on, by this lanyard hole, but again, I'd just do without it. It's not a big deal to me. And the final tool is a pretty good serrated blade, probably the second best tool of all these, and definitely comparable to the Leatherman rebar's serrated blade. Leatherman rebar does beat it in one count, which is accessibility, however. Two blades about the same size. I've got a fair bit of use on both of them, and both of them do as they should. The rebars, there, I've done a fair few things with that. The rebars, however, has this great recess it comes out of, which makes it easier to grasp. All in all, I think this is a good multi-tool, but I think it's been completely cut off by the rebar, and heck, even some of the other Leathermans for just price. If you're going to spend a certain amount of money on a multi-tool, you're probably going to get arguably better quality and longer lasting quality out of this Leatherman for about $70 Australian than paying $100 for this Gerber tool here. Some people do really enjoy the sliding lock mechanism, and it is quality, and it does feel solid in this Gerber. You can also get the same mechanism from Leatherman in the OHT, the one-handed tool. And that comes with the spring-loaded pliers and Y cutters, and this is about the same price as this one. The tools are on the OHT probably a little bit weaker though. They're all outside opening though, and all locking, however, so. And it does have a saw, if a saw is important to you. But misses a file, absent file. So there's a few multi-tool options, probably all within about the same price range. So these two are about the same cost, $100 each. This one's about $70, and the rebar is pretty much the one I'd recommend, unless you have a real thing for either the brand Gerber or the sliding mechanism. It's an American-made tool, and it's of good quality. It's just I think the design has become a bit dated now, having played with especially the rebar even, which I know is not a particularly new design, but just certain nuances like the cutout tools and the ply head there with its replaceable cutters, all that sort of stuff. I think I do prefer also when the tools are clumping and they all sort of come out together, sympathetic to each other. And this one does have a saw as well, so a few different better tools rather than sort of you get somewhat of a plethora of flathead drivers on the Gerber, whereas on the Leatherman for the same space, perhaps even a bit less, you get an awl and a saw as well as the two blades and the file. So the rebar really is the winner in this little competition. But if you're a collector like me, I can't see why you wouldn't want to have one of these as well, purely for it's enjoyable to carry and it's enjoyable to flick open and closed. It just has been, as I said, surpassed a little bit in space efficiency by this Leatherman rebar here. The OHT probably about on par with it. I'm not the biggest fan of the OHT, having used it. I think it's also a bit of an inefficient design. I think that is generally the way with most of the one-handed attempts at multi-tools. I think you do sacrifice a little bit too much just for that one-hand operation. Anyway, that's all my thoughts on the Gerber MP600. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later. You must forgive me, I did forget to talk about the sheath that it comes with. So I've since got rid of the sheath. I just threw it in the trash because it came with a junk sheath. It really is something you'd want to get one of these Maxpedition single sheaths for if you are going to carry such a tool. Just get something proper, because the sheath that this comes with is a I'll just get a photo up for you on my phone. I know this is a bit amateurish, but there you go. It comes with one of those sorts of sheaths, just a folding, some kind of very average nylon sheath, single loop at the back. I got 100 of them, or dozens of them. All the Gerber products I've bought in my life, and they don't get any better. So get yourself a proper sheath, or just repurpose a sheath from a Leatherman. I mean, if you're only going to have one multi-tool in your belt at a time, you might as well just have the same sheath that you'll use for all the different ones and keep the other ones in a sock drawer or something like that. So just as an aside, the sheath's no good. So probably another reason to just get the Leatherman if you're just after the one tool. But if you're a collector, nothing's going to stop you. You're going to grab one anyway, because they are well made, just a bit behind the times. Thanks so much. See you guys.